There's no test rugby, but there's still tests. The Eben Etzebeth has come out and said in Unlocked, and all the newspapers carried it on the weekend. These extracts, SARugbymag magazine carried it. The leadership in 2014, 2015, 2016, 2017 wasn't what it should have been from a test side. We were saying that for a long, long time. Not just the leadership of coaches, but the leadership of the senior players. And I thought there were some telling things in what he had to say. One, the guys he had idolized, his heroes, he felt were the biggest disappointments. You just have to understand, go back and look into the books, who were the senior players and who was there. And then also that 57-15 defeat in Durban.
Oof.
And it was reported on at the time, but not with great depth, that they were out of control, a lot of those guys in that side. There was a bench culture of who knows what was going on. But on the Wednesday before the game, too many went out on the charge. And then when they took 57 points, they went out on the charge because they had a creed. Win or lose, they go on the booze.
I mean, it rhymes.
It does, eh? Yeah. That's fine if you're winning 57-15.
Yeah. I mean, that's an interesting thing. I mean, for me, Springbok history started in 2018. Let's just keep it at that, you know. But it was a really dark time. And I think for the senior players who had seen where the Boks were competitive in 2015 to where they were 2016, 17, it must have been really hard to sort of stay disciplined and put in the hard yards when everything outside of what you can control was a bit of a joke. So I can see how, in a way, the white flag was waved a bit. And I'm not condoning it. I'm just saying I can see how guys would just be like, listen, we're fighting against India. But yeah, I mean, it is very disappointing that Springbok rugby got to that point.
And I mean, for a lot of those players, I would say it's just a blur. I had to get that one in there. We waited all weekend to get that one in. Just a blur. But for a guy like Eben, he plays hard, he sets standards.
Yeah.
138 test caps. He's aiming for that 150 plus. Alan Wynne-Jones, 170 tests, the most anyone's ever played in test rugby. An elite group when he goes past 150. Eben, and I mean, at test level, without a doubt, I mean, he puts in the yards. When he wants to play for his club side and he plays well, he plays hard and he plays well.
Yep.
Remember him here at the Stormers, at times at Toulon, and then when he was really up for that challenge of the EPCR Challenge Cup.
Yeah, with the Sharks.
He led for 4 weeks in a row. So for him as a young guy now, you think of Eben now at 33, but at 23, 24, going into that setup, it must have been hell of a hard to think, I come here with all this morality about how I want to play, how I want to train, how I want to be the enforcer, and those other oaks out on the piss.
No, absolutely. A little bit of a disappointment, mate. Hey?
Yeah.
Sure.
No, when I read that, it just took me back to
a really dark time.
The darkest days. I mean, I was with the Boks between 2000 and 2003. I mean, it was a different kind of dark. Also lack of leadership in terms of the management and the coaching. Some players not good enough. Interesting enough, guys like Victor and Bucky's all came through at that time. They all made their debuts. Farid Prayer came just after that, Skalkberger. So a great generation that came through and then dominated the game through to probably 2009. And then had we kept a proper coaching structure together or kind of had a little bit of luck, that 2009 Boks should have gone on in 2011 and made it to that final or semi-final to play New Zealand at Auckland. But yeah, I mean, I think that's why I keep on saying, let's just appreciate what we have now since Rassie coming, but it also emphasizes the mess that Rassie and Sharky Nabi inherited.
Totally.
And goes a long way to the 7 wins in 14 in that first season. And I went back over the weekend and looked at some of those matches that they played. Funny enough, they ended their season. They started their season against Wales at Washington, D.C., lost in the last minute. It was Rob Dupree, I think, charged down there. Only game he's played for South Africa. And then they lost comfortably at the Principality Stadium, formerly known as the Millennium Stadium in Cardiff, to Wales. And it was like how far they really advanced, because that was the A team that went and lost. But a lot of those players weren't in the mix by 2019. They had dropped out. and never to be picked again.
I don't think Russie's taken a test match against Wales too seriously in his entire time. Maybe that Cape Town test, I can't remember.
Well, they had to win it, to win the series, yeah.
That was one probably, but the rest of the time he's used it to kind of experiment with rotations and player combinations and knowing that they'd win.
We definitely took the 2019 semi-final seriously.
Yeah, that one too.
That was
a proper match.
That was a proper test match.
Yeah.
Two teams who didn't want
I
to
was
lose.
looking into this thing with Wales. Like, as much as we take the piss with Wales, I mean, I love Wales. I think it's great. I love their rugby heritage and all that. But you have to, like, think about it. You could fit Wales into the Free State, I think 5 or 6 times. Like, it's minute. The population there is less than 4 million. I think the population of New York City is twice the population of Wales. So it's a tiny, tiny country. You're asking those guys to produce world-class rugby players, and their climate isn't exactly conducive to outdoor activity big parts of the year. So it's just a point of reference about Wales. You know, they really have overachieved in the history of rugby, I would say.
A bit like New Zealand then. If you're going in geographics and size of a country, they've got more sheep than people. So I would say they've overachieved as well.
They've done not too badly, but they are supported by 3 islands of some of the best athletes in the history of rugby. They have overachieved.
They haven't done bad
Yeah.
as the 7th state of Australia.
I mean, it shines a light on England, right? I mean, like, what are those oaks doing? They've got 10 trillion players in this country, and they've won the World Cup, but outside of that, been pretty much underwhelming.
I think England need Jake White.
Wow, mate.
I think England
Where did that
needs
come from?
Well, I mean, it's only side he hasn't coached. And
I think it's a great shout,
they
but
could do with 2 years with him.
where did you pull that out?
Huh?
I'm impressed.
I like to pull the odd rat out the
The old bug out the tea bag.
Peter de Villiers. I like to take a rat out the hat every now and then. A rat.
Really? That's a great shot. I think Jake would have a good time there.
If you look at the box setup again, we back in test rugby mode at the end of the month. 5 test matches. So November's going to be Boka,
Beautiful.
10, Boka
5 tests, mate. Yes.
5 test matches. We play in France. We play in Dublin against Ireland. We finish it off against Wales. We start with the match at Twickenham against Japan. And we also take in a nice little visit to the Italians. It's a lacquer tour.
It is a good
A
tour.
very cool tour to be on, and interested to play 5 test matches, make it to Twickenham and not play England. So we would have gone to Twickenham twice this year
Yeah.
and not played. We are the host team there now.
I love it. What do they call it? Twickersfontein.
Twickersfontein, just the bier is baie meer. Kost baie meer. Die bier kost baie meer by Twickersfontein.
Yeah.
And apparently the South African gees is not quite as intense.
No, really?
They become sanitized, the South Africans that have gone to London.
Right.
That was the feedback I got from my
It's a
informants.
lack of sunlight,
Who
mate.
was there, yeah, and a lack of sun. Not just sunlight, lack of sun. But that's going to be, we're looking at the Vodacom URC at the moment. We're looking at the Premier, English Prem. You're looking at top 14. The Japan League's about to start. But there's always that kind of, on the right-hand side, you're looking at the box and who's doing what. But URC, for me, it was great that so many players got released to go straight into the URC. That's traditionally hasn't happened. So as we said last week, and up to Rassie and up to the coaches, and especially the coaches who immediately picked them. I mean, the Bulls picked 4 starting in their starting lineup. Sasha and Damien come straight into the Stormers lineup. Morne van der Berg into the Lions. And then the 4 that went into the Sharks. Ethan Hooker, probably the most prominent of them. It was just good that they got to stretch the legs, got to have a run. But what I loved was, we talk about the culture then of 2016 under Alistair, 2017, and how it was just in disarray. A culture of a team must be so incredible, and their winning habit, that those guys, 6 days after making history and becoming the first Bok team to win back-to-back Castle Rugby Championship titles, wanted to go play in Glenegly.
Incredible.
And show that kind of enthusiasm. The other guys were willing to go to Belfast. And then there were a few suckers who were willing to go to Dublin.
Shame.
And
Yeah.
and no one turns down a trip to Italy, so Morne van der Berg had to go there
Yeah.
and actually just get a run. But I really enjoyed the fact that they were released. It certainly does help teams.
Agreed.
I mean, the Stormers, incredible result again, 34-0 to blank 2 teams in your opening 3 games. Norm Laker, he is running hot! Real hot!
Yes, he
We see how hot he ran. We're doing this wonderful collab with Pick and Pay ASAP. And guys, we want to see how hot you can run. So kind of go taste these sauces, take a video, Remember, it's got to be bought at Pick and Pay, so have them in the background. Send us your video, keo@keo.co.za. That's keo@keo.co.za. And you can win prizes, you can win hampers, you can win vouchers, you can win free deliveries.
Wow.
Come on, man.
Woo.
Do it.
Do it ASAP.
And we want to see you pulling a face like Dobbo did, like Norm Laker did. But I think what inspired the team before they left was we gave them a bit of sizzle. We gave them a bit of hotness.
A bit of spice.
And what we did give them from this room, we gave them a revered individual, a data specialist, that I believe now is one of the most important positions in world rugby. Because I read that on 365. John Dobson said it is the new thing in rugby. Data specialist. Unpack that for me as a layperson. What is different to the data specialist to the statistics guy?
No, so I think what's very important, the next evolution in rugby, or the current evolution in rugby, is data. Not so much the data analyst, but a focus on the numbers. So in any business, you've got the heart and soul of the operation. So whether, if, like we've said before, if we had our own burger restaurant, it'd be about making the burgers and all that sort of stuff. Then you can kind of get caught up in that, in delivering the best product, and there's nothing wrong with that. But when you are so close to the sort of fire in the kitchen, sometimes you can lose sight of some of the bigger picture stuff. So that's why you have an accountant or a bookkeeper who keeps track of all your numbers and says to you, I don't know if you've noticed this, but in December, sales go up, and in June, sales go down. And then you can strategize your orders around that so that you don't have too much stock in June and not enough stock in December. So it's about playing smarter. And so to do that, you have to understand what your opponents are doing, what they're doing well and what they're not doing well, and what you're doing well and what you're not doing well, so that you can improve on where your weaknesses are and accentuate your strengths. So you have to have somebody who's got eyes on that. The guys are like Norm, who've got their sleeve rolled up and they're in the trenches grabbing guys and throwing them into tackles. They don't really have the time or the scope to kind of pay attention to that kind of stuff. It is a very time-consuming process. So I think that's where the value is. It's not so much about changing anything that a team is currently doing. It's just about adding a layer of sort of intelligence, as in intel, recce, information.
And have you found, because you are the chosen one now at the Stormers, headline maker, unbelievable, eh? I loved it.
I don't even know how that's a story, mate.
It was a story, mate. I gave it to them.
Wow.
I'm laughing at my own jokes, mate. Looking at that, and this is a question asked in all sincerity, it hasn't been rehearsed. What's your name? Is you've now covered the Stormers, the Boks, for the best part of 2 decades. As a daily beat writer, you were SA Rugby Magazine's editor for the last 5 years. I mean, rugby's in your veins. You've coached. You've got your coaching diplomas. You've been on all the courses. You're on Jake White's Winning Ways with Eddie Jones. You've now been involved in this gig for probably 3 months, consulting at an intense level. Have you found that you're far more educated and informed because of the role you have than when you were just reporting on the game and kind of being an influential commentator on the game?
I wouldn't say in the last 3 months I feel like I'm more educated on it. I feel like having an analytical interest in rugby has helped me to better understand the game. So I know for a fact there's a ton of hacks out there, rugby writers, scribes, who are way better journalists than me. But I think what gave me an edge is my analytical interest in the game. So I was finding and writing stories that were more data-driven and specific to the actual game. My interest has always been in the game more than the storytelling. So it's about sharing how the game actually works, the mechanics of it. That's always been my interest. And so that kind of gave me like a framework for understanding the game and writing about the game. And obviously, I've been doing some data analytics on the side for a very long time. And now it's just more formalized and more it's a bigger role. And definitely, the closer you are to the numbers, the deeper you can see into the game and the more sort of clarity you get around how things interact. But I'm still very much in a learning phase with the Stormers in terms of how they play and what they're trying to do. Those coaches are massively experienced. They've already won this URC before. And even though they don't have a lot of time in the sort of data side of things, they're, like I say, veteran coaches who know how to fix problems and accentuate strengths and find ways to win. So I'm definitely in a sort of learning mode there.
If I look at what Dwayne Peel, the Scarlets coach, said, former Welsh international scrum half, he said the Stormers so far have set the standard in the opening month of the URC, but it's so unlike the Stormers that they know. He says defense suffocating, disciplined, and a lot of boot to the ball, playing for field position, back in the aerial game. And I know you've obviously always been a strong believer of that and kind of getting greater balancing to any team that you've coached or been involved in, meaning use the boots effectively. It's a great way to get closer to the try line. But Dobbo, when I interviewed him just before they left for tour, said to win over there, to win in Italy, and to win especially in Wales, they've got to play unlike Stormers rugby. And I think that's the one thing that impressed me from the game, and I watched it twice over the weekend, was that it wasn't a very unlike Stormers. They were the odd moments, Sasha's kind of 40-meter pass that went backwards. Looked great, but it wasn't necessarily an effective play. But for the rest, they were disciplined. They lost 2 players. They did the basics very well. The maul is working superbly.
Yeah, sure.
And the scrum was obviously very strong. But that being true to that and to change a coaching philosophy for specific games must take it. That's a hell of a mental adjustment.
Yeah, I don't think the coaches needed too much encouragement on that side. I think where the credit must go is for them transferring that message to the team, because players want to run, all of us, nobody, I mean, with the exception of Willem de Waal, Morné Steyn, Nas Botha, all of us want to run with the ball and pass. And I mean, I'm making a joke there because Willem could run and so could Morné. But all of us want to play ball, right? None of us want to be defending all the time. But there are some efficiencies around that I think the Stormers team as a whole have brought into. That comes back to your point about culture there. And I think, as much as people say that's not Stormers rugby, I think in that game against Scarlets, if more of those kicks had turned into possessions for the Stormers, you would have seen some great Stormers rugby. I think Sasha and Gaza would have been unlocked and done some great things. So it's probably got more to do with just the way the game went on the night. I thought the commitment to the plan was outstanding, and then maybe the execution wasn't always there. And I think if it had been there, you would have seen some electric tries. So it's a work in progress, and I think the Stormers are headed in the right direction.
Well, I mean, 95 points in 3 matches, 12 tries to 2. It's 240 minutes to concede 2 tries. And against a decent Osprey side that had scored plenty against the Bulls the week before that. I think more, though, so for me than the 34 points, because it could have been 50 with a couple of chances taken, a few kicks missed, difficult kicking conditions, but was the 0 again. And the desperation to keep it 0.
Yeah.
And the desperation to keep it 0 in that second half against the Ospreys as well. I think that for any coach, I mean, Norman Laker, he's our guy. He's running hot when it comes to the coaching, the defensive coaching. But obviously it's a collective. You look at what Rita has done with the maul, what Darby's done with the backs. It's great to see a team play with such rugby intelligence.
No, totally.
And Dobbo obviously overseeing that. And kind of shredding this thing that the Stormers were just a transitional team or Barbarians type team that played too much coast to coast and laterally. To see that pack working as effectively, I mean, the maul has been absent for the last 2 years in their game, and they just look like they know where to go and how to go there very fast. And when I look at a guy like Ruben van Heerden, like had presence, Schikkelin, Paul de Villiers is coming on brilliantly. Unfortunate for Dion Fourie, Sharkov in injury, but don't bet against him not coming back. And then Imi Khan, he's fought hard to get fit. Such a talented scrum half with the older head, Stephen Ungara there. And then Rowanell's captaincy. I mean, you could go through all of them, but it is really a proper start to a tour. They got 2 difficult games in Italy. We've seen Benetton's form.
Yeah.
And Zebra have knocked over teams at home.
Yeah.
But they had the potential to come back with 4 or 5 wins out of 5. And knowing that they pretty much play more games in South Africa now for the rest of the tournament they play up north, puts them in a hell of a strong position for a top 4.
No, it does. It does. And good for South Africa, because the news wasn't great across the rest of the teams, and obviously we're cheering for all South African teams to be in contention for the playoffs. So hoping that the Sharks, Lions, and Bulls can bounce back soon. But great start for the Stormers, and obviously, as is always the case, it's just about who's up next and how can you maximize that to get the most points out of it.
And talking about that, obviously with our ASAP collab, it's all about deliverables, running hot, and the guy who always runs hot for us, Wilco Louw.
Wilco Louw, mate.
He was the shining light for me in an otherwise very difficult and disastrous evening in Belfast against Ulster.
Yeah.
For Wilco Louw, we know that he's going to win you scrum penalties, but the way he trotted over, and I say trotted over because he used that big frame of his to score a great try. He tossed that ball back like he scored 100 of them. I loved it.
That's what you got to love about tight forwards, right? They just take it in their stride. I mean, and he is a monster, and he's back with the Bulls. And unfortunate that the result didn't go their way, but great performance for him. But yeah, just a weird result for the Bulls, I suppose, because, or not a result, but the performance. Quite a lot of moving parts there for the Bulls in the sense that Akkers had to, I suppose, play Pollard because he's coming back to South Africa now for the birth of his child, and it was a 1 or nothing opportunity, I suppose, for Akkers to get Pollard into the seat. But as he said in the build-up to the game, when you make changes, it affects your continuity. And how much continuity do the Bulls really have? Because Akkers has only been in charge for 3 games now. So, I think people just need to be patient with the Bulls because it is a new era. They are trying some new things. There are some new selections, and then you had the disruption of some guys coming back. And they're playing on tour against an Ulster team that's pretty decent. Disappointing result, but I'm sure the performances are going to improve.
Okay, they are 2 from 3. They got the 10 points at home. They got 12, 13 Springboks in their mix, and some very good ones, current ones. Polly won't be there basically till after the Boks finish their end-of-year tour.
Yeah.
And then I think we enter the Investec Champions Cup that he will feature there. But he is going to be pivotal to any Bull success in the back end of the competition. We know that. World-class player, won 2 back-to-back World Cups. And Wilco Louw will be as primary to the scrum, him to the kicking game and to the points tally. 14 tries they've conceded in 3 matches. What do you attribute that to?
I haven't looked closely at the Bulls, but I mean, from watching them play, I think, you spoke about Norm earlier, how he's running hot, and he is. The defense is great at the Stormers, but what contributes to that is an attack that is efficient, that doesn't turn the ball over, a pack that's dominating when they need to dominate, a kicking game that's working. So there's all those elements, You can have a great defense coach and a great defensive system and buy-in from all the players, but if your attack is turning the ball over and your kicking game's not firing and your set piece is crumbling, then your defense is going to leak tries. So I'm not saying that's the case with the Bulls, but I wouldn't necessarily put this down to the defense. I think, like I said, it is a team under new management. They're trying some new players and new positions. It's a relatively disrupted team, and I think, as was the case at the Lions when Akkers was there, the focus is very much attack-driven, set piece and attack. It's about putting points on the board, and the Bulls have achieved that, and I think that was a building block for him. I don't think Akkers came in like Jacques Nienaber might have come in, where it was about let's limit their access to the scoreboard and then build the attack from there. I think it's probably the reverse of that. Let's show we can score points, let's dominate, let's control the gain line, let's control the set piece, let's put points on the board. Attack is the best form of defense. So I think the defense is probably a little bit under construction in terms of integrating with that plan, and I'm sure it'll improve. I mean, the quality of play in that squad is insane.
If you look at Jake White's 4 years, 3 finals he made, 1 at home, 2 away from home, and they were consistently in the top 4. And when it came to year 4, and they blew it like they did in Dublin against Leinster, I said, he's got to go. His time has come, he's run his course. And it was more because I'd heard all the rumblings from senior players, from coaching staff. There had been a disconnect, there had been a breakdown. So nothing about his coaching pedigree, nothing about his ability to take a team that was a shambles and turn them into top 4 contenders and take them to a final, which he's done with many teams. He did that with the Brumbies. He cleaned the box up. He took them from the rabble that they were under Rudolph.
Montpellier.
And Montpellier. He took them into, they won their first ever European title. He took them back into the then Heineken Cup.
Yep.
So he's always been a Mr. Fix-It.
Yep.
Not always one who could sustain the fix. So Akkers, who's a hugely popular oak, comes back. He had great success with the Lions. As Simon Borchardt pointed out, he didn't win. He didn't take them to 3 finals. He took them to 2 because Swayze de Breed took them to the first one.
Right.
Okay? And Swayze, by the way, congratulations, extended his contract to remain the coach of the women box for the next World Cup. So that's great news as well. But is Akkers, from the public point of view, and from our point of view, do we give him a fairer ride than we would maybe give someone like Jake because of the confrontational nature of Jake? And he's a divisive individual. You either like him or you don't. Everyone likes Uckers.
Yeah, I think with Jake, the issue there was the players, right? The players came out and said a few things, and that kind of got into the public consciousness, and then it's a bit of a difficult situation. So with Uckers, I think generally the players enjoy him. I think the evolution for him is going to be working with guys who are, I mean, they turned the Lions, who were a no-name brand team, into contenders. Now you've got guys who are Springboks, guys who've done it, been there. Marcel Couture is a good example of that. And he comes into the framework where the players have sort of exerted their power against the previous coach. So I'm sure there's a dynamic to think around that with the Bulls as well for Uckers. But by all accounts, the players seem to dig him. I personally, I love Uckers. I think he's a great oak and a really solid coach. I think he's sort of has a very simple but solid outlook on life and rugby. So I think he's going to do well there. But I do think it's going to take time to rebuild the team in the shape that he wants the team to be in. And there are a lot of moving parts in the sense that Johan Goosen has been out injured. Keegan Johannes has kind of been keeping the seat warm. Pollard is the guy who parachutes in from the box. Like you've mentioned before, you've got guys who won a rugby championship. The next week, they're in Belfast playing Ulster. So I think there have been a lot of moving parts, but I think the foundations are there. They've got some good fundamentals at the Bulls. And I think the way that Uckers manages situations will buy him time. And this Willem Strauss incident, saga, whatever, from the weekend, I think is a great example of that. He said, teams, families fight. And he's right. That is the internal conversation. Probably shouldn't have got out, but there are internal things where people disagree, and that's part of building a team, is that you solve those issues and you move forward together. So I think he handled it perfectly. I have no doubt the Bulls will grow into a team that is a contender.
Well, I mean, you look at Willem Strauss, the president of the Bulls. So he also actually has no say over the professional setup. Just people need to understand that the Bulls are run by the company. They're the professional side. But there's a healthy regard and cooperation between the Bulls Rugby Union and the Bulls professional side. But he's a very passionate guy, Willem, and he came out and basically called them everything under the sun. Lack of character, ill discipline, softness on defense. The one thing about, and Uckers, as you rightly said, hey, families fight, we'll fix it. No, not offended by it. He said it is that. It looks like it's not good enough. 28-7, 4 tries to 1 is not good enough for us, and we'll have to fix it, but we will fix it. And I'm confident they will fix it. But even under Jake, they're a team that scored the most tries, but they conceded a hell of a lot. They're a team that often won 56-40, 40-30. Teams scored a lot of tries against them. And I think their mantra was always, if we're scoring more, we're winning. This time they didn't. At 7-all, you thought, okay, it's going to be a tough night, but they'll get over it. And they fell apart in the last 20, 25 minutes. But a nice reality check for them. On the question of who's running the hottest, we're going to put on our WhatsApp group. Put your comment in here and go visit the Facebook page as well. You got to vote, and we'll announce it on Thursday. You got to vote. Is it Wilco Lowe or Norm Laker who ran the hottest? And we'll get a delivery to you ASAP. And who knows, maybe Zels will even deliver it if you're in the Cape Town catchment area.
Just got to get my motorbike license.
You really need one.
Might come on a bicycle, mate.
So, yeah, get those votes in and also get those videos in and show us. Have some lekker hot sauce in this summer sizzle. And we're going to have a lot of fun for the rest of the month and obviously going into November. If you look at the Sharks and the Lions, they're a team that's close to your heart. You wear their jersey on occasion. You've always enjoyed the underdog.
Yes,
but my goodness, they've taken the underdog status to another level.
Yeah, it hasn't been pretty, man. I think Krappie going off with that injury early on didn't help their cause at all. And as much as the Lions, are challenged for depth and quality of player in some positions, there's enough there for them to be contenders, especially on the road against teams in Italy. So it's tough. It's tough under foreign conditions, I suppose. South African teams have shown that it's difficult to win away from home, but there's definitely something missing there, and it's hopefully something that they find soon, because it's not fun to watch the Lions sort of go around in circles. When they put it together, they are incisive and electric, but they just can't, again, it's just the consistency around that. Some soft tries and soft moments.
Cash into his 5th season. Again, a popular guy. Oaks dig him, passionate, lives for the Lions. How secure is his job? How secure should it be?
I don't know. I mean, what is the competition for that position? I mean, it's a difficult job, that, isn't it? You play at a stadium where people generally don't come to watch. You have a limited budget. You struggle to get the best players in there. It's a tough place to go coach and win, you know. So, I mean, he's been building for some time there. There have been signs of improvement, but the Lions just can't retain the personnel. So every time a star comes out of there, then they're on their bicycle and they're off to somewhere else. It's a tricky job, that. So, yeah, I don't know. I don't know what their options are. I'm not saying definitively that cash is the problem at the Lions. I'm not really sure what the issue is there. But we've seen them sort of be competitive in stages. Again, it's just about finding the plan that works the best for the personnel that they have and then finding a way to win.
I just think when I look at them, first 2 years, young team building, some very good individuals, and you thought this team has to come, and then they'd get 2 or 3 great wins and then drop a few games. And I wonder if that moment hasn't passed now. And it's like a team that you expected to kick on that didn't kick on, and where to from here? And I do think there's changes that are needed there. It can't continue like this. A lot of people also speak about, should there be the threat of a relegation or not? Or you can guarantee playing in the competition regardless, you know? The big things going on there at the moment is Wales. Do Wales need to have 4 teams? No, I think they should have 2 teams.
Spot on.
And I don't say an extra South African team should come in. It should be reduced, the competition, by 2 teams. It gets you an extra week as well, helps with the travel. But the Lions, like we want them to do well. You know, Ricardo Lopes is there, Mossi's there, Jacques Fourie. It's like you just want this team to be successful. We want all 4 South African teams
Spot on.
to be firing. It's great for the game. It's great for building the Bok talent. But I just thought the way, and Benetton's a good side at home, make no mistake. They've knocked over nearly everyone at home. But the way they just rolled over in the last 20, 30 minutes, that's not kind of... One thing about the Lions is they used to play. A few seasons ago, they used to tour well, and you'd get 80 minutes out of them. So, look, I just hope it gets better for them when they do get home. They can knock a few teams over at the Highveld and do some other South African teams a favor. And then the Sharks, geez, the Galacticos. I don't know about that team, eh? People say that I don't like them. What I don't like is that a team that comes with such a reputation so often underperforms. And where's the accountability there? Again, just disappointed in the way they lost to Leinster. Yeah, like John Plumtree saying Leinster got a fast start and we were finished basically. 21-0 down, we were playing catch-up. Leinster were always going to get a fast start in Dublin. That's what they did to the Bulls in the final. 5 British and Irish Lions back in their squad.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm reading the same narrative every Monday.
Yeah.
Help me.
Yeah. I'm not making excuses for the Sharks, but what I will say is that their schedule didn't sort of shape up to give them a nice launch pad into the season. I think, arriving in round 3 with Leinster coming back from a tour in South Africa and then being reinforced by some of their best players, just in time for the Sharks to arrive, certainly didn't help the cause. So they started against Glasgow, which is a team that are perennial contenders. The draw at Dragons, obviously,
That's a shocker.
just not good enough. And then Leinster, just failure to launch. But, it's not like they are losing. Dragons is a draw, right? But it's not like they're losing to Zebre or, suffering home losses against teams they should be beating. And it has been a tough start for them. I think in a way the Sharks are also spoiled for choice. And that kind of, I don't know if that gets the best out of everybody. You've got the guy who's starting who feels like he's under pressure from a million people for his job. And then the guys who didn't make the team are a bit disgruntled. I don't know. I couldn't tell you exactly what the issue is there, but they do need to perform better. The quality of player on that roster is too good for those kind of performances. And Ethan Hooker showed exactly what a quality player does. Despite Leinster controlling that game from start to finish, he found a way to get on the scoreboard, intercepted a pass, sidestepped a defender, raced away for a long-range try, and kind of made Leinster respect the Sharks for a second. They need more of that individual brilliance as a collective, I would say. But they need to turn things around.
Ethan Hooker, our wonderful partner Stecco, they do always ask for an insert post games, and it's the Stecco power play of the week. And
That's got to be our choice.
It's Ethan Hooker.
Yeah.
He continues to deliver. He has a presence. He's understated. He runs powerfully. He reminds me a lot of, and I know he's not always the most popular guy in South Africa because
John Kerwin.
John Kerwin in his prime as a youngster.
Yeah.
The John Kerwin at 18,
Yeah.
19 and 20 who played for the All Blacks, played for Auckland, was that kind of winner. Just big, strong, fast, and very understated. There was no swan diving when he scored. He would just put that ball down, run back, and kind of do his business. Kind of had this presence about him and a superiority on the field, like you don't tackle me,
Yeah.
I tackled you.
Yeah.
And I score against you. And I thought the way Hooker scored that try, one, it wasn't a great, he took the intercept, so he was in the air to come down. The quickness of thought to change his angle, beat the 13, and then accelerate, and no one was touching him. I mean, he's got some serious gas. He's a special player.
The hooker that the Sharks need is Bongi. I mean, Bongi needs to get back to his best. He's had a rough season. I'm not saying the line-out issues were 100% his fault, but the line-out was a misfire for the Sharks. A couple of overthrows and turnovers. And, yeah, I feel for the guy because we know when he's on form, Bongi's one of the best hookers in the world. So, really hoping that he finds his feet again. The Sharks desperately need him to be back at his best in the middle of their set piece. And I think if they fix that set piece, a lot of things will change in their favor. So, a lot of quality in that team. You just got to start to see it come together. It's actually got to manifest itself on the field now.
And Plum?
Yeah. I mean,
Is Plum the right guy? He's very popular in Durban. I speak to Gavin Rich. Gav's a big supporter of Plum as a coach. So is Simon Borchardt, who's taken over the editorship from you at Rugby magazine. They rate him very highly. But something's not gelling there.
No, look, I think Plum can win. Plum is a winner. But yeah, in my experience with the Sharks historically, I don't know about now, but historically the Sharks have been very much about things that are not always winning first. I think there's quite a nice culture in Durban. I think the guys enjoy themselves. I think people are happy there, but I'm not sure that always translates to wins. And the Sharks maybe need to be a bit more ruthless. And I mean, back in the day when Plum was at his best, he had Bismarck, he had Jannie, he had Willem Alberts, a few uncompromising guys who weren't there to surf. They were there to win. And I think the Sharks maybe need a bit of a culture relook there. But again, that's just me looking from the outside. That'd be my guess about something that might shift to sort of narrow the Sharks' focus.
And I think we keep on giving context to the season and to people who say this isn't the traditional old Curry Cup, home and away. You play 8 games, you got to win 7 to make the playoff, and you win the final. And it's like we had a good season. This is a marathon, the URC. Just like the Prem is a marathon.
Big time.
Top 14 is a marathon. I mean, top 14 teams are into this. They've played 6 rounds already. We looked at the top 4 there. Last year's European champions, Bordeaux, lost 56-13 against Toulouse on the weekend. And that was a Bordeaux side that had a lot of French internationals in it. It's not like they're playing the academy side.
Spot on.
Toulouse took a couple of beatings early on in the season. They've played 6 rounds, and the top 4 teams have all won 4 and lost 2.
Yeah.
And Bordeaux have lost 3 out of 6. Now, if that was, say, the Bulls or the Stormers in South Africa, we'd say they're in crisis. They say there's 26 games to be played in a season. There's still another 20 to go outside of the European competitions.
Yeah. And you know the numbers better than I do, but I mean, the Crusaders were historically slow starters in Super Rugby, and they won the title every second year, if not every year.
Yeah, and I mean, so if you look at, there's 18 matches to be played in the URC. You're going to get those incredible weekends where the Stormers shut out Leinster 35-0, where they shut out the Scarlets 34-0. But it's going to be expected. There's going to become times where the Bulls take a 28-7 hammering that you think they shouldn't have, or the Stormers stumble, or the Lions win.
Yeah.
And the Sharks, get it together and click and put 40 points past someone with all their box back.
Yeah.
So I think we have to continue to have that perspective of the key here is they need to make the playoffs. How many South African teams can make the URC playoffs? And primarily, how many can make a top 4? Because that guarantees you, and at best we'd say the Bulls, the Stormers would be favorites to challenge for that top 4. The Sharks, once they get their box back, good enough to have that back-end surge to get into that top 8. But you can't be traveling in the playoffs, and especially traveling overseas. The Stormers saw that in the last two years going to Glasgow. They took a beating both times. You want to be playing at home for the crowd and obviously for the home ground advantage. When I look at the top 14, the SA Rugby does their great Saffers abroad. And just look again, the top 14 and in the Prem. Marius Lowe, Sharks lost him to the Lions. He was great there. He's doing great things in England. But you look at some of the scores as well. So Newcastle taken over by Red Bull, Newcastle Red Bulls, and 50 points they conceded. Against, I think it was Sale Sharks.
Yep.
5 South Africans in that side doing great things. Maurice Lowe being one of them. And then you look at La Rochelle. We know how strong they are, losing to Stade. In Paris, Jeremy Ward, remember him?
Yep.
Sharks boy, S-under-20 captain.
Yep.
Potentially going to be available for France in the next year. He would have done his 5 years there.
Yep.
Another excellent player. So wherever you look, there's South Africans that are doing well in the top 14, doing well in the Prem.
Yep.
Johan van Kraan's Bath are 3 from 3. The biggest one for me was that Saracens went down against Harlequins 2014.
Yep.
Saracens have been in good form. But even outside of Bath there, teams already dropped points early on in the competition. And I think, and those guys have all had an off season. Eh?
Yeah.
We haven't.
No, exactly. I mean, we just played 12 months in a row. That's how it goes here. So it's been an arduous couple of seasons for South African rugby players. And hopefully the talk around alignment of the calendar bears fruit, because our guys do need a proper break. They just can't be playing 12 months of rugby every year.
Well, that's one thing that Willem Strauss, when he's called for, and Mark Alexander has acknowledged it, he's called for an urgent crisis meeting about structures, and one of that is the fact that it's just not sustainable for players to go 12 months basically playing both hemispheres and playing all the competitions. I mean, we've been doing it for 5 years now. How we actually perform at the level we do,
exactly,
at club rugby, is it's remarkable.
Yeah.
I think what benefits us the most at test level is that we pick a good 10 players that are playing in Japan. They don't quite have the intensity of the travel and the URC and the Investec Champions Cup to contend with.
Yeah.
And they kind of arrive at the Bok set up pretty fresh. But something has to be done about it. It's going to catch up with us at some stage.
Definitely. And I mean, it's testament to our depth in this country that we can sustain it for as long as we have. But I just don't think it's for everyone's best interests to be playing the volume. But by the same token, you've got some guys who are second, third, fourth stringers who play a handful of matches a year. They're sitting around twiddling their thumbs. So we just need to get the best efficiency out of the calendar in terms of giving the youngsters opportunities to play, even if it's not at the top tier, and then the top tier guys to play a reasonable volume of rugby every year.
All right. Just remember, it's the Shisa Reward Challenge this month. Go to Pick and Pay, get something hot. If not, please order in. ASAP. Zalzi will be on the bike. What a surprise. With his
That helmet's going to mess up my hair.
Yeah. Can you get that helmet on with that?
A little space at the top for the...
It looks like your hair looks great. Beautiful. Hey?
Magnificent, mate.
I just love I can need to keep it. Some people say your beard should be a bit neater.
Yeah,
I've
my
seen that in the
sister's one of
comments.
them.
I see that.
Get a message off every show. You need to shave.
You need to shave. You also need to have a beer or two, mate. Castle Lager, thank goodness. They are the official beer sponsor for the fan. God, see. I did have a few too many this weekend, but I enjoyed it. I didn't enjoy the South African Challenge on Saturday, but I also kind of took it on the chin and thought we need to be humbled a little bit. We've had such a good time over the last few weeks with the Boks, with the Stormers.
Also, let's see these teams come and scrum in the Republic.
That's right, especially in December.
Exactly.
Let them
Welcome to the hot box.
Let them come in January. I always mention this one when Cardiff came here a couple of years ago. It was like 38 degrees and they played a Sunday game against the Stormers. And the Stormers shut them out 40-0. Stormers have done a few teams, donated a few teams.
Wow.
And the worst was they flew back on the Sunday evening because it was an early 2 o'clock kickoff. And everyone said those poor buggers couldn't even go to Camps Bay on Sunday evening and enjoy the delights of Cape Town. And
all the risk, no reward.
Yeah, basically from there, shower and to the airport, and they woke up the next morning in -2 degrees in Cardiff.
I don't think that water trolley made it past the third aisle, mate. Everybody was just loading up.
Yeah.
Shame.
So well done again, though, for you and your Stormers Oaks. 3 from 3. So lacquer to see you're so happy there, and that they are a good bunch of Oaks. While we are thinking Stormers, Dion Fourie, if anyone can come back again, it's going to be you, bud. I do think you are pacing yourself well, though, for the next World Cup. Those legs will still have something in it, but speedy recovery, mate. He's an ace and he knows how to fight and fight back from injury. His age may say something, but his mind is a lot younger and a lot stronger. And then the tight heads. I mean, you don't want to be a tight head at the Stormers.
Sure.
You put a number 3 on your back and you tend to kind of get an injury. But again,
I saw Tank at Adidas on the weekend shopping for boots. I don't know.
Yeah.
He might be on the comeback.
No, I think Tank's been doing those warm-ups all the time. I just hate to tell him he's not getting on. But Tanky landing there. He's obviously in the province set up with the youngsters. So yeah, it's great to see the Stormers playing the way they are. We hope for the best for the Lions. The Bulls, we know they'll come good, and we just know the Sharks, when they get that full contingent of Boks back, they are just such a different side. So don't despair, guys. Enjoy the rugger. It's going to be another big weekend for us. Zels and I will be back on Thursday where we preview it. We give you the odds. We tell you where to put your kashish, or we tell you to keep it in your pocket. But mostly we talk rugger. Keep on commenting. Keep on mailing me. Keep on voting on our WhatsApp channel. And keep on loving us. Danke schön.